Good morning this morning. I had an amazing conversation yesterday with somebody that I need to share with you, and it has everything to do with Julian Sayin, what the coaches think about him, and how that has led to a big part of who was announced yesterday as the new offensive coaches, some being promoted, one from outside. And it's very interesting. So let's get into it. Do me a big favor, smash that like button if you haven't already. It does help us out. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already. It's absolutely free, costs you nothing, and helps us grow this community of Buckeye fans, much like yourself. If at any point during this conversation something strikes you, please comment in the comment section below. That absolutely helps the algorithm and YouTube shooting it out to more people, much like yourself, so we can continue to grow this thing. We absolutely appreciate it. Okay, so I had a interesting conversation with somebody yesterday who knows the coaches over at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, and it was before all of the coaching announcements came down in the afternoon. However, hats off to Buckeye Scoop, who had two of them well in advance of everybody else. So I want to make sure that give them credit for that. However, this conversation was not about any of those coaches. It was about the current coaches and one quarterback named Julian Sayin. And the conversation went like this: Eric, you need to know that how much the coaches trust and admire and believe that Julian Sayin is legit when it comes to not rebuilding this offense, but reloading this offense. Look, it's well documented. Everybody knows that Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis are big fans of Julian Sayin. One of the reasons why both Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith were able to come back to Ohio State at a reduced price in NIL, mind you, was not only because Ohio State's collectives raised enough money in NIL to keep them satisfied and happy, but their belief in Julian Sayin elevating their play and their draft stock in 2025 and for Jeremiah Smith beyond. Very interesting comment. Okay. Now, what's that have to do with Brian Hartline being promoted as the new offensive coordinator, Billy Fessler being promoted as the new quarterbacks coach, and Tyler Bowen coming in from Virginia Tech as the new offensive line coach? What does that have to do with it? Has everything to do with it. Has absolutely everything to do with it. Let's first talk about Julian Sayin. So, Will Howard's moved on. He's going to go to the NFL. Hats off to Will Howard. Love Will Howard. Appreciate everything Will Howard did for Ohio State and winning a national championship in 2024. And a huge Will Howard fan, man. Absolutely huge Will Howard fan. But I'm being told that Julian Sayin is a much different quarterback than Will Howard. Obviously, he's got a different build. He's younger. He's not as experienced, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm being told that Julian's saying the coaches look at him very similar to CJ Stroud. And CJ Stroud was a redshirt freshman when he got the reins in 2021. And that they look at Julian saying he's got a lot of the same characteristics as CJ Stroud did. He is able to retain information very well. He's able to read defenses extremely well. And because of his ability to read defenses and make split second decisions based off of those reads on those defenses, his ability with his arm talent to pinpoint accurately put the football exactly where it needs to be in the passing game was next level. We're talking CJ Stroud type of level here within the offense. So understanding that and having that belief that Julian Sayin is indeed going to be the heir apparent to Will Howard moving forward, and that we get him for at least 2 years as the starting quarterback at Ohio State. Ryan Day having those conversations with Brian Hartline and Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and able to keep them at Ohio State with the understanding that Julian Sayin is going to be that guy who's going to elevate your play as a wide receiver in the passing tack within the Ohio State offense. Brian, then it was, I think, pretty easy decision for Ryan Day on who he was going to go with in these decisions. So let's first take this young man. Why was he promoted as the quarterbacks coach at Ohio State? Well, has everything to do with the fact that he has garnered the trust from Ryan Day, that this young man right here uh, has elevated the growth of not only Will Howard last year, but Julian Sayin his first year on campus at Ohio State. Now, any of you who follow my channel, follow this channel here at the OHL podcast, who attend the live shows and are in the chat, you've all heard me talk about my love affair of Aaron Nolan and how I was rooting for Aaron Nolan. And I still am, by the way. I appreciate his father, him coming into our community here and being a part of what we've done at the OHIO podcast in 2024. And I'll be rooting for Aaron Nolan in South Carolina unless we were to play him in the playoffs or something. But that being said, Julian Sayin is the man. Um, hey, I've even said, slow your roll, everybody. We have a very talented freshman coming in Tavian St. Clair from Bellefontaine, Ohio. And I still believe that he's going to do everything in pushing Julian Sayin. And that's what you want if you're a Ohio State fan. You want your quarterback to be pushed because it's going to elevate his play, which will elevate everybody's play around him. But this guy right here apparently is a quarterback savant when it comes to development, and Ryan Day is super impressed with him. Brian Hartline has been super impressed with him. The quarterbacks are all super impressed with him and appreciate what he's brought to the table as a quarterback quality control fella last year. And so yeah, they're just going to make him the full-time quarterbacks coach, and he's going to be working very closely with Brian Hartline in making sure that the passing tack, along with Coach Ryan Day, obviously, is where this team needs it to be moving forward with such a talent like Julian Saint. So hats off to Billy Fessler. Congratulations on being the new quarterbacks coach, and looking forward to watching Julian Saint's development. Now let's head on over to this guy right here. Why Brian Hartline? Well, it's been obvious to me that, and if you've watched all the other Ohio State podcasts out there, they've done a great job on talking about why Brian Hartline needs to stay. He's the best recruiter on the team, hands down. Everybody knows it. You don't want to lose that. He's 38 years old. He's the second longest tenured coach on Ohio State, next a position coach that is next to Larry Johnson on the defensive side. He actually understands Ryan Day's playbook better than anybody else. And Ryan Day, number 4, trusts him that he's going to take the next step in um, his coaching development when it comes to calling plays. So this thing is only going to be successful. Hear me out. This thing is only going to be successful if Brian Hartline becomes a really good play caller. And I think under Ryan Day's tutelage, Brian Hartline can become that. It was also important to make him the offensive coordinator, not only because you want to continue to see Julian Sayin's development and for success in 2025 and beyond for Ohio State offensively, but you want to make sure that your weapons are happy. Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, right? And so, yes, this guy was named. This guy was the offensive coordinator 3 days ago, but no one knew about it as far as it being announced outside of again Buckeye Scoop. Hats off to them for having it first. But Ryan Day was wanting this guy to be a part. This guy, I switched sides on myself. This guy, this guy, um, wanted him to be a part of those communications and conversations he was having for offensive line coach. And I'm being told there were multiple conversations with different people. And so some of the names that were being floated out there, rumored out there as for an O line coach, I think were true. Um, and so it was a kind of a caught everybody off guard when it was announced that this guy was the new offensive line coach. If I can get my buttons to work properly. Here we go. This guy right here. Yes. Okay. So we're talking about Virginia Tech offensive coordinator Tyler Bowen. And again, I'm not going to go into all the details of where this guy comes from and his coaching history. A lot of different channels have already done that and they've done a good job. But why this guy? Have you thought about that? Well, it has everything to do with the fact of who was just offensive coordinator, who they've brought in the transfer portal, what the idea is behind in elevating and keeping some of the things that Chip Kelly did as offensive coordinator when he brought some of the running schemes as well as the use of the tight end and put that in the Ohio State playbook. This guy has has a history of coaching tight ends. They wanted that. This guy has a history of also recruiting very well in the DMV area. They need that. Larry Johnson does a great job of recruiting that area, the DMV, obviously talking about Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, Eastern Pennsylvania. Okay. Um, Larry does a great job of doing that defensively, especially on the defensive line. We've gotten a ton of talent from that area on the defensive line, but not so great offensively. He's going to open up that area recruiting offensively for us, especially on the offensive line, which needs to happen. Needs to happen. So everybody's talking about how great of a recruiter he is, and that's fantastic. But I think this guy is going to help Brian Hartline out as the new OC because he has OC uh, experience at Virginia Tech was pretty good. His offensive line experience, that's what he's being brought here for as offensive line coach. He has tight end experience. They don't want to lose the things that Chip Kelly brought in utilizing the tight ends. And our tight end room got significantly better in the transfer portal last year when we brought the kid in from Purdue. And you want to use that weapon. You want to be able to use that weapon. And he knows how to use that weapon. He's going to help Brian Hartline when it comes to making sure that we don't forget about our tight ends, that the tight ends are being developed as well, along with Keenan Bailey developing them. He's doing a great job. But you want you want that staff to be seamless. You want it to be fluid. You don't want any rough patches like we saw last year on the defensive side with Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles. And so when Brian Hartline and Ryan Day both look at each other and they say, this is the guy who we need in order to make our offense work properly the way we want it, and he's going to help me look, speaking as Brian Hartline, help me be a better offensive uh, coordinator and play caller, then I think that's the decision that needs to be made there. And so they went with this fella. And so I'm really excited to see what Tyler Bowen brings to the table for Brian Hartline and for this offense. And I'm super stoked about that, man. And what's really unique about it is that, the conversation I had about Julian saying it makes sense that his development along with those wide receivers, that Brian Hartline would be the guy that you would bring it to you, that you would promote to make sure that that offense continues to run the way that Ryan Day wants it to run. Hey, let's be honest here, guys. The running game is not going to be the same. We don't got Travion Henderson. We ain't got Quinshawn Judkins. They're both going to the NFL. Now we've got James Peoples, we got Bo Jackson, we've got a transfer coming in. We'll see what he can do in a better conference and playing against better competition. But we also have a pretty good interior offensive line coming back that we know. So I'm not saying that the running game is completely dead. I'm just saying I think there's going to be more of an emphasis on the passing game and the development of Julian Sayin. The tight ends are going to be a big part of that. Jeremiah Smith is the greatest weapon in college football. Carnell Tate's ready to take that leap to being a first round draft product. Uh, we need to make sure that everything is in place so that when Ryan Day hands over that playbook, he has complete trust that Brian Hartline is going to be able to do that job and that Ryan Day can just manage this team like he did in 2024, which led to a national championship. What was so interesting about this conversation was this: they aren't looking at this thing as a reload. Or excuse me, as a rebuild. They're looking at it as a reload. They believe Julian Sayin is the guy. They know Jeremiah Smith is the guy and Carnell Tate's the guy. They know they've got some talent on the offensive line. Um, they wanted to make sure that this offense is clicking and humming, especially in the passing game, because that's where the talent lies in 2025. And so, congratulations to Brian Hartline. Congratulations to Billy Fessler. Congratulations to Tyler Bowen. Those are our new offensive coaches being promoted and brought in to make sure that 2025 looks very similar to 2024 offensively. So, congratulations there. Now, one more nugget for you. Defense is next. The defense is next on Ryan Day's agenda, but he wanted to make sure the offense was taken care of first. And if you ask why would he want to do that? Because Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and Julian Sayin were the priority. And that makes perfect sense given who was promoted and who they just hired. They're the priority. Priorities taken care of. Next, let's look at that defense. Let's take care of that. That's next on Ryan Day's agenda. So we will see who they go with. There's been a couple different interviews. Um, some names that were hot have been cooled on. We will see what happens on the defensive side. If they do something similar as they did just on the offensive side, Ryan Day has proven that he is willing to pull the trigger and go with what his gut says. And his gut said Brian Hartline is the new OC. Billy Fessler gets a promotion, and Tyler Bowman, we're going to bring him in as the new offensive line coach. What does that mean for Kevin Wilson? I'm figuring that out. I'm figuring that out. We'll see if I have it. If I get any news, I will let you all know. Again, smash that like button. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We appreciate each and every single one of you. Consider becoming a member. We just dropped a members only video, a recruiting video last night. So if you haven't already and you're a member, go check that out. And if you're not, consider becoming a member. It only costs $3.99 a month to become a member to get those extra videos behind the paywall, as well as free shipping on anything purchased from the store from our website, theohiopodcast.com. Go and check that out. We have our live call-in show tonight at 8 o'clock. Might be interesting. I have some people pretty upset with me about the whole Kirk Herbstreit video yesterday. I've invited them to come on and talk about it. Also, apparently, there's someone trolling me who has a membership of about 16 people on his YouTube channel. He's called me out, so we'll see if he calls in. That could be interesting. And of course, we'll have all of you great people who call in just about every single week. We appreciate all of you. It's going to be a fun night tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern, right here on the OHIO Podcast YouTube channel. Make sure you ring the bell so you get notified and you never miss when we go live. I have a Bible verse for all you guys to have a great day with. So all of this talk about trusting Brian Hartline and trusting Billy Fessler and with the offense reminds me of one of my favorite verses from Jeremiah 17:7. Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord and whose hope the Lord is. I hope that this verse finds you doing well this morning. Trust in the Lord, and He will bless your path. I promise you. All right, be kind to one another. I owe someone's OH. Sing Carmen High with all your heart. Till next time, go Bucks.